How's it going, guys? Football-ManagerYouthDevelopment.co.uk here. In this episode, this is going to be a beginner's video, but we're going to take a look at player movement on Football Manager. There are quite a number of people who are struggling playing Football Manager 2016 in particular, understanding how to set up their tactics and things like that. So in this video, I just want to touch upon quite a basic concept basically of the movement of the players and just understanding what you actually set the players to do, how they're going to react and the movement of the players based upon what you've told them to do basically. So to take a look at this, what I've done is just taken over as Tottenham, just set up like a completely random formation, and what I'm going to do is just play like a real quick friendly against this team here. So the player that I'm going to be focusing on in this video is going to be Eric Dyer, and what I'm going to be doing is using him as a fullback. Now what I just want you guys to have a look at really quickly here and just to understand is the actual movement of the player. So the things that we're going to be having a look at is just understanding the defend, support and attack duties that you can give the players. So anyone new to Football Manager, what I would really highly recommend that you do is just to make sure that you are fully understanding all these player roles that you can have here. So for any position on Football Manager on the pitch, you can basically, say if you put your player here, there'll be certain roles that will be available if you put your player in this position. If you put your player in this position, you can see that the roles end up changing. And again, if you put your player, anywhere on the pitch, basically, there's a number of different roles. And of course, there's a number of different duties. Now, depending on the role and the duty, that is going to affect the movement of your player. So for this particular example, what I'm going to be doing is using Eric Dyer on the fullback role. But what I wanted to show you guys just to start off with, so if we have a look and put him on the defensive duty here, what it will basically say at the bottom, so if we have a real quick read, it says with the defend duty, the fullback will stay back with the defensive line and make simple possession passes down the flanks or into central midfield. So what it's basically saying here, guys, is that on this duty, he's going to be staying back. He's not going to be looking to make any runs forward, things like that. If we now have a look at the support duty, with the support duty, the fullback will support the midfield by providing extra width and will look for crosses and through balls when the opportunity for each arises. So you can see with the support duty, his movement, he's going to be more inclined to move forward slightly. But what he's going to be doing is just looking for crosses and through balls. He's not going to be kind of like running with the ball too much and things like that. If we then go up to the attack duty, so basically what it's going to be saying here is with the attack duty, the fullback supplements his defensive responsibilities by overlapping the midfield and providing first-time crosses into the area. So with that, he's going to be, like it says, he's going to be looking for overlapping runs on the midfielder. So for an example, guys, what you can see here on the defend duty, you can see that my fullback is just sitting nicely here. Now basically watch what happens when you put the fullback on the support function. You can see here that he jumps forward ever so slightly, and again if we put him on the attack feature, you can see now that what he's done, he's jumped even further forward. So in reality, what this is basically going to mean, if Eric Dyer is on the attack duty, and we know that he's going to be looking to make overlapping runs, so what is basically going to be happening in reality on the pitch, Eric Dyer is pretty much going to be almost like a winger basically, because he's going to be making overlapping runs. We're going to be watching this in the match engine pretty soon, guys, but just I want to go through the basics of it at the moment. So yeah, basically in reality what he's going to be doing is pretty much be playing up in this position and then getting his crosses in here. If we put him back to this position and we put him on the support role, you can see that although he's actually in line with our centre backs here who are on the defend duty, in reality what he's basically going to be doing is probably hovering roughly around this position here. And if we have a look at the sort of description of what it means to be on the actual support function, it's saying here that he's going to look for crosses and through balls when the opportunity for each arises. So basically, if you imagine that the ball's moving forward, Eric Dyer is going to be moving down here onto the right hand side. I'll actually just swap Dyer and Lamela just for this example here. But basically, when Eric Dyer roughly gets to kind of, you know, like this sort of position here on the pitch, probably a maximum of kind of like here, what he's going to be doing is looking just to see if he can get a cross in here, or maybe if he can play like a nice through ball through to the other players. Obviously on the attack duty, like I showed earlier, what he's going to be doing is pushing much further forward, and then looking to get his crosses in from this position here basically. The last one is basically on the defend duty. So when I do click on the defend duty, you can see that he actually pushes right back here. What I'll do, I'll just put Danny Rose on the attack duty. So you can see basically that, you know, although it's ever so slightly, you can see that Danny Rose, although they've got the same roles, the different duties that I have given both Danny Rose and Eric Dyer here, you can see that Danny Rose on the actual match engine and his, you know, kind of movement is going to be a lot further forward than Eric Dyer, who for this example at the moment is just sitting on the defend duty. So with the defend duty, as I said at the beginning, he's basically going to be staying back with his other defenders basically, and he's hardly going to move forward at all. So in reality, in the match engine, the furthest forward that he's probably going to go is like up to the halfway line. What he's going to be doing is probably just playing like real simple balls. So, you know, he might be looking for Ali maybe in the like in the center of the midfield, or, you know, just playing like really simple passes basically. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'll boot up the match engine just so that we can actually see this in practice, just to kind of have a look at the player movement. Now, once you do understand player movement, this really does help you to create your tactics and things like that. So for example, Eric Dyer has got a crossing ability of 15. Lamela, let's have a look at Lamela. Lamela has got a crossing ability of 12. So you don't have to be a genius to work out which player is better at crossing out of Eric Dyer and Lamela. Let's pretend you've got Lamela here on the right hand wing here. Now obviously Lamela is quite a creative player, but just pretend we've got a player here who is quite good at tackling. Maybe he's got like, I don't know, 12 for tackling, and you know, you want your fullback to get forward because he's really good at crossing like Eric Dyer is. What you might decide to do, guys, is to put Eric Dyer on an attack duty like this, and then what you might decide as part of your tactics, because you know Eric Dyer is really good at crossing, and like I said before, if you want him on attack duty, in reality what he's going to be doing is coming pretty much up to that role sort of position there basically. To make sure that you don't get caught out on the wings, what you want to be doing is making sure that your right midfielder, because you know Eric Dyer in reality is going to be up here, it's no point having a winger on the attack duty. If you have a winger on the attack duty, guys, what's basically going to be happening, he's just going to be kind of forward basically all the time, and he's not really going to be looking to, you know, track back or anything. So in reality, what you're basically going to be having is two players that are going to be overlapping yourself here. You know, they're basically going to be on top of each other, these players here, because Eric Dyer is going to be looking to move forward here, and Lamela's not going to be defending at all. So basically, in regards to creating tactics, if you do decide that you want Dyer to push forward and make them overlapping runs, in an ideal world, what you need to be doing is making sure that you have a guy on the right of the midfield here who, I don't know, you might want like a wide midfielder, maybe like a defensive winger, something like that, or maybe a winger just on the support function, something like that. But the idea is that, you know, you do need somebody on the right hand side of the midfield that is basically, when Eric Dyer is up here, someone who's going to be pushing back basically into this position here, just so that, you know, you're not left short basically of players on the right hand side. I'm going to boot up the match engine, guys, but just so that we can kind of see this in actual real life and how it would work. Okay then, guys, so yeah, I've just got the match started here. I want to make this part of the video a little bit shorter than the beginning of the video, but basically to start this off and just to check out the player movement, just so that we can, you know, so you get a good understanding of the basics of player movement. To start this off, what I'm doing is just putting Eric Dyer on the defend duty. Okay then guys, so in this particular example here, what's basically going to be happening is Harry Kane has got the ball in the middle of the park. The player that we're obviously going to be checking out here is Eric Dyer. So let's play this game here. Eriksen is moving forward, and what you can basically see is that Eric Dyer has completely put the brakes on as soon as he's pretty much got to the halfway line. Now Danny Rose on the other flank is on the attack duty. But yeah, because we're obviously looking out for Eric Dyer here, look at the movement of Eric Dyer compared to the other player here. So you can see what's happening. I know Rose is taking this throw in here, but Eric Dyer, because he's on the defend duty, he's basically hanging back. And his movement, he's not moving that far forward, even though this is within like the first 50 seconds of the game. You know, he's basically staying back a hell of a lot. He's hardly venturing forward at all. And that's basically the player movement on the defend duty. So pretty much like a minute later, guys, what I've now done is move Dyer to be on the support function. So what you can see here is that the ball's moving down on the right hand side, and with this support function you can see that his movement has been affected and now he's more willing to move forward here. You can see basically that he's got loads and loads of room just to kind of like bomb forward here, and with the support function, although he's not like right up here basically, you know, he is more willing, instead of being like back here on the halfway line on the defend function, what he's doing is moving forward a lot more, just to kind of, you know, he's basically assessing just to see what's happening, and yeah, he's kind of hanging out on the right hand wing. Obviously he's in a good sort of position defensively, so because he's on the support function, he's basically going to be, you know, not absolutely bombing forward here. He's going to make sure that he's giving himself enough time to kind of push back here just in case he's actually needed. Okay then guys, so literally a minute later in the game, you can see we're still in the kind of third minute of the game here. What I've decided to do, so I'll put Eric Dyer on the attack duty. Now you can see how much further forward he is now. I did change a couple of other things as well, so what I decided to do was just make sure that he's looking for the overlap and things like that. But what you can basically see here, look at the position of Eric Dyer here compared to where Rose is. So Eric Dyer is absolutely bombing forward now, and he's not particularly giving too much of a care for his kind of like defensive responsibilities. So obviously he's got a hell of a lot of open room here, but what we should end up seeing, just waiting for the match engine to update here, but what we're basically going to be seeing, look at the movement of Dyer here now that he's on the attack sort of duty. He's absolutely just bombing forward, like breaking his neck just to kind of move forward. What we should see in a little bit, I'm just waiting for Lamela basically. So just on this particular example here, guys, what I've decided to do is just put Eric Lamela on the wide midfielder in the support duty, just because what I want to show you guys is just Eric Dyer kind of overlapping Lamela. So I'll just wait for that particular event to happen. So we'll just press play here. You can see that he's kind of doing it here. If we do end up winning the ball back fairly soon, which we should do hopefully, so just a real quick free kick here to the other team. So Loris with the ball up the wing, and what we're basically seeing here, so you can see that Eric Dyer is looking to overlap Lamela here. I'll just kind of check out on his movement. So that was a fairly nice cross from Lamela, getting the ball over, but you can see Eric Dyer is basically just bombing forward, and Rose on the other wing is not moving forward all that much. So basically it's just really important in terms of player movement, especially when you're learning the game, just to understand how what you do here will affect where the players move and what they do basically. So you can see that on exactly the same role for every single one of the examples that I've given here, guys, you can see how much the duty affects the movement of the players, you know, how high they get up the pitch, you know, how much of the responsibility they're going to be looking to concentrate on their defending and things like that. Now, a lot of people do concede quite a lot of goals from like crosses and things like that. So a lot of the reason why this is happening, people might have a winger maybe on the attack function here, and they'll say, right, I want my fullbacks to absolutely bomb forward as well. And in reality, what's basically going to be happening on the match engine, like I said before, both your players are just going to be hovering up here. And look at this massive gap that you basically leave yourself here on the right wing. So I'm going to call this the end of the episode, guys. If you have got any questions about player movement, do feel free to ask. But yeah, basically just make sure that obviously when you're setting up your players, just make sure that you're having a look at the duties. You can see it happening like really subtly, but basically you'll see your little, this little icon thing just moving forward depending on what duty you give your player, and that really does affect the movement of the player and how they react and where they're going to be on the pitch. If you've not done so already, please do subscribe to the channel. Press the like button on this video, and I do want to hear your comments on this if you've got any. But yeah, feel free to come back soon, and we'll be back with some more Football Manager videos. Thanks for watching.